Hello and welcome to this video. This video is Unit 2, Section 6. We are graphing linear equations, and this is problems 1 through 10 on the first page. Alright, so we are going to find the slope and the y-intercept from a graph. Alright, so let's just look at number 1. I want to find the slope and the y-intercept. Alright, so to find slope, well, I'll do the y-intercept first. It's just easier. And then we can actually use that to go and get slope. Okay? So the y-intercept is just where it crosses the y-axis. So if I go down the y-axis, my point or my line crosses right there at that point. So what I want to put here, my y-intercept, is the point where my line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so that point right in the middle is the origin, so that is 0, 0. Okay. Now using that, I can start from there and get my slope. Okay, so to find slope, I need 2 points, any 2 points on the line. It does not matter which 2 points that you use. Now the reason I do y-intercept first is because then I already have 1 point. I just need to find one more. Okay, I always try and get the closest point that I can. It doesn't really matter what direction you go. But if you notice, I can get a ton of points on here, right? I can use any of these, or I have a bunch down here. So I have points all over this line. Okay, so you can use any two. I don't even have to use the y-intercept if you don't want to. I just simply use the y-intercept and one other point. It's just less time consuming, right? Easier. And like I said, I always pick the closest point that I can, or the closest two, because then you have less to travel, right? Less distance, and then your numbers more than likely should already be simplified if you do pick the 2 closest points. So I'm going to go from here to here, and you always go left to right. So from my left point to my right point, for slope. Okay, so we know slope is rise over run. Okay, rise means up or down, where up is positive, down is negative, divided by run. We always go to the right, if we can. Okay, which on any graph, if you are given one, you should always be able to go right. So it's always up or down first, then to the right. So from this point to this point, I have to go up, then right. Okay, so since I'm going up, it's positive, and I go up 1, I go right 1. Okay, so my slope is going to be 1 over 1. That's rise over run, which I can reduce to just 1. And I'm done. And if you're sitting there going, okay, that was confusing, I'm totally lost, that's okay. Let's do the same thing on number 2. It'll just look different because we obviously have a different graph. Well, it's kind of different. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept. I look on the y-axis, it crosses right here. And I just write that point down. That point is 0, 0. And I pick any other point that I want to, so the closest one that I can find is right there. Okay, now remember, I always go up or down first, then to the right. So from left to right, I go down and then right. And because I went down, it's negative, so I went negative 1 and went over 1. Okay, it's a weird one. There we go. So for my slope, I do rise, so negative 1 over run, 1, which we can reduce to negative 1. And that's it. Okay, now if that one didn't help you out, let's do one that's not through the middle, and that's not 1. Maybe this will be easier to understand. Alright, so I want slope and y-intercept. I do y-intercept first. So on the y-axis, I cross all the way down here. Okay, that point is 1, 2, 3, negative 4. So I have 0, negative 4. Okay, now I need to look very carefully at where my intersection is with my line. And the next point that I can see very clearly is right here. Oh wait, there is one right there. Okay, so look, I have 3 points to choose from. I can do any two, it does not matter. So I'm going to use these two that are close, or I mean you can use those two, you get the same answer. So going from left to right, I start here, I go up or down first. So I go up and then to the right. Okay, because I went up, it's positive 1, 2, 3, right 1, 2. Okay, so for my slope, I do rise over run. My rise was 3 over run, which was 2. I can't reduce that fraction, so that is my answer. That's my slope. And that's all I'm doing. Okay, so let's do it again. 4, y-intercept. Look at the y-axis, it crosses right here. That's -2, so I have 0, -2. And I need another point, so the next point that I can see is right here, it looks like. Okay, so always from left to right, and always up or down first. So I go down and right. So I went down 1, down is negative, and I went over 2. Okay, so my slope is rise over run. So rise is -1, run is 2. I can't reduce that fraction, so that is my slope. Okay. Hopefully these are helping, getting easier. Let's keep going. If not, we've only done 4, so we still have 6 more to do. All right, so 5. I want to get y-intercept first, so y-axis crosses down here. That is -3, so I have 0, -3. Okay, now the next point that I can find is right here. Now I always go to the right starting off because it's just easier for me. Again, it doesn't matter what direction you go. I just always go to the right if I can. So I want to go from left to right, and you always go up or down first, because you want to do rise first, then run. So from here to here, I would go up, and then I would go right. So I went up 1, up is positive. I went right 1, 2, 3. Okay. My slope is rise over run, so rise was 1, run is 3. I cannot reduce that, so that is my answer. And then we're done. Number 6. Slope and y-intercept. So y-intercept comes first on the y-axis. I cross right there. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 0, 4. Okay. The next point that I can see, that one's not quite it. I go all the way down right here. Okay. So from left to right, I start here, and I have to go up or down first. Well, this is very clear. I need to go down. So I'm going to go down and then right. Okay. So now I'm going to count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And because I went down, it's negative. Okay, so -7. And then right, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Slope is rise over run. My rise was -3. So I'm sorry, not negative. Wow. -7. My run was 3. And I cannot reduce that fraction, so I leave it alone and I go to the next question because I'm done. And that's it. Number 7. Y-intercept. I look at the y-axis, crosses right here. Okay. That is 2. So I have 0, 2. And I find another point. So notice if I go to the right, that would be a point right there. But you know, if you're unsure, that's fine. Let's go the other direction. There's a clear point right there. Okay. I still want to do the same thing though. I go from the left point to the right point. And from here I have to go up first and then to the right. So I go up 1, 2, 3, and then right 1. So slope is rise over run. So rise is 3, run is 1. and I can reduce, so 3 over 1 would be 3. Now, if you have noticed, I have not had to reduce most of these because, again, I pick the 2 closest points that I can find, and that way your numbers should mostly be simplified or reduced already, except when you have stuff like that. So over 1, anything over 1 is just a whole number. So with that exception, everything else should be a fraction that's reduced if you pick the 2 closest points. All right, number 8, y-intercept. So I look at the y-axis, I cross down here. It's 1, 2, 3, -4. Okay. Now I need to find another point. Well, I can't see at all the rest of this graph going right, so I want to go left. There's a point right there. Okay, so going from left to right, I go down first, then right. Down 2, so -2, and right 1. So my slope is rise, -2, over run is 1. And I can reduce that, so that'd be -2. Ooh. Okay, let me turn that off. And okay, number 9, almost done with this page. So slope and y-intercept. Y-intercept's first, I cross the y-axis right here. That is -1, so we have 0, -1. Okay, and I need another point. Next point that I can tell looks like right here. Okay, so going from left to right, I have to go up first, then to the right. Okay, so see, this is why colors help, because then I can very easily see where I'm going. So I went up 1, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So slope is rise. Dang it. Rise over run. So I do rise is 1, run is 4. I cannot reduce that, so that is my answer. And I can go to the next problem, or my last problem on this page, 10. Okay, I want slope and y-intercept. Y-intercept, I look at the y-axis, crosses right here. That is -3, 0, -3. And I need another point. Yeah, that's probably one, but I'm going to go ahead and just make sure and pick one that I can clearly see on the graph. So going from left to right, I have to go down first, then to the right. I went down 2, so -2, right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my slope is rise, -2, over run, 3. I cannot reduce, so that is my answer. Alright, so hopefully that has kind of gotten a little easier after doing those, especially if you watch the whole thing. If not, you can always rewatch it. And so that is the end of this page, which means that is the end of this video.